Hi, everyone. Doc T here. I'm on the road, and I know if you're watching this, I have a virtual background to represent my studio. If you're not watching me, you'll never know, right? Anyway, I'm on the road again, many weeks, taking care of horses on farms, and I'm so blessed and honored and grateful for all of that. But it does expose me to various stories that people tell me from their own lips about the service that they're getting from the veterinary community. And I also get to see it firsthand. I entitled this podcast Integrity. And the integrity is all we have at the end of the day when we lay our heads on the pillow. And it doesn't matter what position or what job you have, whether you're an employee or you own a company, or in this case, leading a country, because it's right around election time. And integrity seems to be lacking in so many areas, and I'm not too sure why. My last podcast told us all about the new veterinary colleges that are coming out, the 13 new colleges, the 55,000 additional veterinarians that they're adding, and 80% of them becoming small animal vets, leaving 20% to come out and help everyone else. Integrity is not being taught. Integrity comes from mentorship, by being around people who have integrity and standing up for what is right, and knowing that if you think about doing something wrong, you don't do it. And a lot of people, this is foreign. They don't understand that. But in veterinary medicine, or particularly in the horse world, taking care of our horses, every animal out there that's in our care that's been domesticated requires someone to stand up and be their advocate. And it's shocking when it doesn't happen. So a lot of experiences have occurred on this trip. And the first I was guilty of, my integrity failed. I thought that I would always be the best advocate for the horse. And there's this very difficult pony that requires all three drugs that I carry with me. And to place the needle in the horse's neck, it's a pony. It rears up. It doesn't strike. It just rears up and throws itself around. It's not impossible. I've done this before with this pony, and the pony actually seems to be getting better. But on this day, there was an energy in the barn that was more than usual. And I placed the needle in the neck, and I was ready to administer the IV medications. And the horse is doing his shenanigans, rearing up, running around, no big deal. But then all of a sudden, next to me in the stall is another veterinarian who was visiting that farm that day. And that person asked me if I wanted their help. And I didn't say no. I should have said no, but I didn't say no, because I'm not the veterinarian of this farm. This veterinarian is and does all the work there. And so in a position of authority or hierarchy, I deferred to her, thinking that maybe she knew this pony better and could handle it better. But she immediately called for a lip chain and obtained one and applied it to the pony's lips, upper lip, upper gum, underneath the upper lip on the gums. And then got a small whip to whip the pony's legs so he couldn't strike out. And a part of me said, I'm not usually around ponies and horses that are being this aggressive. And maybe somebody has to be this assertive and dominate to get control of this horse. And I, for a moment, bought into the whole thing. And I failed. I didn't stand up for the horse. I didn't say, no, stop. In fact, I helped engage in the activity. And then immediately I realized this is wrong. And at this point, it was too late. The pony was already at a much higher level. And this veterinarian was dead set on making this horse behave. Maybe that vet was trying to show something to me, to prove something to me. I don't know. But I walked out of the stall, but I didn't stop it. And this has haunted me for several days. But there's a good ending to this story. Once this pony did settle down, I did re-enter the stall. I was able to place the needle. I drew the blood for the veterinarian, and then I placed my medications in. And then we took everything off, and the veterinarian left. And all I did was stand there with this pony. This pony needed to know that not all veterinarians, not all people are bad. Luckily, the veterinarian working on this horse was a female, so we didn't have the male dominance thing. And the owner and I sat there for the longest time. And the owner said she was shocked that this vet did what she did. But that's water under the bridge. Now, what do we do going forward? And it took 10 or 15 minutes for the medications to allow us to connect with this horse. And this horse really wasn't being affected by the drugs, but slowly realized that that threat was gone. And once that was realized, then I could establish a connection with this horse. And it turned out that the horse said, "Thank goodness you're here. I understand what you're trying to do. Allow me to go in and actually float the teeth." Did a decent job, and left on such a good note that the pony was up talking to us, the nose in our faces, saying, "Look, I'm not holding this against you guys." But integrity there has to be 24/7, 365. And I was guilty of not stepping up because of outside forces. And if I can succumb to a fault in my integrity, then everybody can. And I know you have come into these situations yourself, whether you're a veterinarian or horse owner, or you're a horse owner who sees a professional in with their horse doing something you don't like. And I now thoroughly understand how you don't step up and advocate for the horse. It's very difficult. There's such an invisible dynamic going on between humans that it's difficult to say no. But in retrospect, it was easy, and I should have, but I didn't. In this particular case, I'm hopeful that this pony will forgive us and move on. But we're all not perfect. But I think we did pretty well. Then there was another case of integrity where I had a client who has an older horse, and she had called up and said her horse is having difficulty chewing, is salivating a lot. I know the horse is late 20s, like 28, 29 years old. And I knew that this horse had a loose tooth, an end stage tooth that was going to be coming out. And I said I couldn't get there for a while. And I suggested she call a veterinarian, which she did. The veterinarian looked in this horse's mouth and heavily sedated it and strung the head up from the ceiling. So, in other words, there's a rope from the horse's head to a beam above the horse's head. And then she placed a speculum in the mouth, which is what I call a mouth jack. It basically opens the mouth and keeps it open so she can get in there. And she had difficulty applying that, so she had to remedicate the horse. And finally, once the horse was compliant and she was able to gain access, she attempted to remove this tooth and failed. After well over an hour working on this pony, old horse, she said, "I can't do it." And I understand that every veterinarian has to learn. They have to get out there and try and make an attempt to do things. And this horse needed some help to remove this tooth to make it feel better. But what bothered me was this is a multi-person practice. And instead of having the more experienced veterinarian come out and be a mentor to this younger vet to say, "Look, I know these are unusual, but let's work on this together. Maybe we can do this together." They didn't. They just let the young, relatively new graduate out there to flail about in this horse's mouth. And that's wrong. And unfortunately, most of us horse owners are going to be faced with more and more inexperienced people coming out, trying to work with our horses and failing, which is so sad. But it's the state that we're in now. There's fewer and fewer horse vets and less time to spread ourselves around. So as a mentor, this was absent at this point. Now, maybe the next day, the mentor could have rearranged his schedule and said, come on out, let's do this together and get this done. But nothing was heard. Crickets from this practice. It's a very well-known, highly reputable practice, but nothing. They never talked to her. They haven't sent her a bill yet. The woman doesn't know if she's going to have to pay for this or not. So most veterinarians don't like to fail, but in this case, they did. So I was finally able to get there, and I walked up to this horse and I opened the mouth, and sure enough, the loose tooth was in there. It was moving laterally side to side, but couldn't move forward to back because it was braced between two permanent teeth. So I asked the owner permission to do this without any drugs because I'm wiggling the tooth and the horse could care less. There was no pain involved. So I was able to reach in with a pair of cap forceps, which you use on young horses to pull baby teeth out. I placed it on there, and in less than 5 minutes, this tooth was out and the horse was happy. I wish I could help this other person. I wish I could help all veterinarians learn to approach horses and work with them and get their teeth taken care of. I would love to be a mentor for them, but most of them don't want to hop in the car and travel all over the country doing this with me. But if they want to, I'm open to it. And there's not guaranteed that every day we're going to have a case like that. But mentorship is being lauded by the American Association of Equine Practitioners as being the most important thing to helping our new graduates become proficient in their practice. And yet here was a chance for a veterinarian to mentor. And I didn't know. If I had known, I would have said, hey, bring the other person out. But I didn't know until I got there that this other person had attempted to get this horse's tooth out. So a lot of opportunities were passed or missed. And I just have, 41 years of experience working inside a horse's mouth. And I would like to pass that on, but veterinarians and veterinary colleges are not asking me to step forward and talk about this. They don't want to hear it. They know what they know, and they're in their silo, and they believe that what they, automatically dragging a horse and hanging the head from the ceiling and jacking the mouth open is the only way to get into a horse's mouth and take care of things. Where in 5 minutes, I was able to reach in there and pull his tooth out using a pair of forceps and no medications. I'm not bragging. I'm just saying that after 40 years of doing this, I should be able to do it. And a young student, maybe not. But we have to get this mentorship going. So we have that integrity, because this is what we as horse owners demand. We want integrity. So that was 2 cases. Then we had a third case, and actually 3 and 4. It was a horse and then a dog. And both of them were basically a problem that was occurring in the animal. And instead of stepping up and solving it, veterinarians are trained to treat, not to prevent or not to impart knowledge to the horse owner so they can understand what's going on, so they can help this horse not only thrive in overcome this injury, but move on. One was a very small ultrasonic hole, so to speak, in a tendon, a superficial digital flexor tendon of a horse. And I asked her, what was the vet, explaining the treatment, and how did she explain how this injury occurred? Because this is a Grand Prix horse that doesn't, shouldn't be breaking down, but it did. So I explained something simply like the hole that she saw in the ultrasound was actually fluid that's going in the disrupted fibers. And I explained why the fibers broke down and why you should look at a tendon as a muscle tendon bone unit, not just a tendon isolated, and that you have to strengthen the muscle and do good therapy and training to build up the strength so this won't happen again. But none of this was imparted on the owner. The owner was just told that the horse is going to be stall bound for 2 months and then physical therapy for 2 to 4 months. And maybe next spring they can bring the horse back. But there's no talk about how to prevent this from happening. And if you recall in the last podcast, I'm talking about where is the information coming to veterinarians that will tell us how we can and educate our owners so these injuries won't occur in the future. And, I just shrugged my shoulders because we're not advocating for the horse. We're just sitting there patching things up. And as far as the dog goes, the dog is got an allergy mostly on its belly between the hind legs. And it's a fat black lab. And so there's other issues going on, but no one was teaching her about allergies come from inhalation or ingestion or contact, and that she has to find what the allergen is and remove that. All she was being told was bathe the horse and come in for your shot that we can reduce the itching. And we have to do better than this. We have to, the whole thing about this website is to advocate for the horse, but to become an advocate, you must have integrity. You can't just say, well, I'm advocating by treating. We have to advocate by preventing. We have to advocate by educating. That's what this whole podcast is about. So thank you for taking the time and listening to my week here on the road and some of the problems that I've had that have come to me that I've had to address and help. And I'm not perfect. And that's the bottom line. I'm just not perfect. But we all have to strive to do better. So I'm asking anyone who's watching this podcast or listening to this podcast to try to get better information to solve the problems of our horses so they can be healthier and thrive in this human world where we have fences put up and we throw foods at them that are not natural and we do sports on them that is not what they evolved to do, and get away from all the clutter and strip it down to, okay, how does a horse work and how can we keep them in prime shape? If I gave you a brand new high-end luxury race car, let's just pick Lamborghini for whatever reason, because most people know Lamborghinis are very expensive and go very fast. But what if you didn't know how to maintain it? What if you didn't know how to tune it or to give it the right fuel or to make sure the air filters are right? This car would slowly fail and be no different than a Volkswagen out there. But a lot of you say, look, I just want to drive the car. I just want to ride the horse. I'm not interested in the intricacies of maintaining and tuning. I don't want to do that. Leave that to an expert. Well, I understand that. And we send our cars to mechanics who know how to repair them or to maintain them. And that's fine. It's an automobile. And we can open up a textbook or a manual that tells us exactly how to adjust the brakes or adjust the steering or, lubricate it or whatever else we have to do. And we can see what they advise for the type of fuel you should be using and how often you should change the air filter. I get that, but that's a machine. But when it comes to living, breathing things like our horses, we need more. We need to be flexible. We need to learn. And unfortunately, nobody's written this manual, the horse owner's manual. And in fact, I've talked about this, the missing horse owner's manual that we're all looking for. We want to know how to maintain our horses, to maintain our farms, to maintain our barns, to provide an ideal environment for our horses in the confines of just not letting them loose and run free in town because they'll get hit or stolen or whatever. We have to confine them on our farms. We have to make it safe for them. We have to feed them correctly. And we need mentors. So the Horses Advocate is me being a mentor for everybody who wants to listen. And if you're a veterinarian, please listen, ask questions, join the Horses Advocate, contact me, join us for our every other week, Thursday night live rounds with Doc T, where we go into different ideas and we dissect them out. And I try to put a theme to it, but oftentimes we're way off the theme. We talk about what you want to talk about. And I think that's really important. So think about it. I know we're all busy. I know we have things to do. We have families, we have jobs, we have responsibilities up the kazoo. I get it. We all do. But we have to find time. And for me, this whole election cycle here in America is so consuming that I've made a point that I'm not watching it anymore. I'm just done. I don't need to have anybody's input. I need to focus on you. I need to focus on our horses and make sure that not only do I see all my clients tomorrow, but between now and then, I get a podcast done and I get prepared for rounds, and I put together this advanced equine nutrition course and give you the data that you need to make informed decisions. That's what I'm here for. So this is Doc T in my hotel room, hoping that you've enjoyed this or that you support this and that you forgive me because I'm not perfect. Some of the information I'm fleshing out, and sometimes I get things wrong. Sometimes I say the wrong word. I was saying pyruvate instead of propionate for the longest time, and I don't know why, but I want to be accurate. I want to give you the best information out there. I want to be the advocate for your horse. So that's my pledge from this point forward, to do that. And I hope integrity is in your life too. So thanks, Doc T out.
Hey everyone, Doc T here. Thank you for listening to my content. Would you do me a huge favor? Would you please subscribe, comment, like, thumbs up, and give a star review? However it's presented to you, I want you to do that. There's two reasons. The first, of course, is to improve this product. This way I know what you like, what you don't like, what I can improve upon, what topics you want me to cover. But more importantly, it's also going to help others find me. And by doing that, you are now engaged in this mission of helping horses thrive in a human world. By you helping, we can reach others. And that I would be so grateful for. And remember, go to thehorsesadvocate.com for updates on this information. Thehorsesadvocate.com. And again, thank you so much for being here. Doc T out.